Let's get more on the impact on the financial industry in the city. We have the Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury, Keqiang, joins us this morning. He's the man in charge of all things yuan and all things financial services related. Secretary Chan, before I get into these deals between China and Hong Kong, I want to get your thoughts on the markets. I mean, another day of sell-offs, lots of jitters on the markets. What's the Hong Kong government's take on what's happening right now?
Well, I think a lot of issues that have been bothering the investors over the last few weeks are still very much on everyone's mind, which is the whether the U.S. going into double-deep recession and how are the European governments solving the euro crisis. So it will be, for some time, the market will be reacting to different kind of news. And volatility will be with us for some time. Yeah.
Now, I'm not asking you to speak for the entire Hong Kong government, but, people have been pricing a recession here in Hong Kong. Is the government in the city prepared for a big slowdown in growth?
Well, generally speaking, I think this year's growth prospect for Hong Kong is still quite good.
Yeah.
Although people said that the second quarter was lower than the first quarter.
Well, it's contraction. We saw negative growth.
But we had a very strong first quarter. So I think generally speaking, this year's economic forecast, we still pretty much stay in our own original forecast.
Yeah, positive territory.
Positive territory.
And
absolutely.
People are saying even if it's a recession, it's a technical one, it's going to be pretty shallow. Okay, so Hong Kong could be prepared.
We are prepared. We are prepared, of course, for the downturn in the U.S. economy and European economies. We're watching those export figures very carefully, as you can imagine.
Oh, definitely, yes. I can imagine. Let's talk about what's happened in Hong Kong recently, of course, visiting Keqiang and also the PBOC governor. Lots of VIPs in town. I'm sure you were very busy. But talk to me about some of these measures. I want to first talk about this closer cooperation, joint venture suggested between the Hong Kong Exchange, Shenzhen, and Shanghai. Yes. How's that going to affect business here in the city?
Well, they just announced exploring a joint venture between the three exchanges, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. Now, as I understand, what they're trying to do is to be setting a joint venture, to be engaged in index-related products. Now, this is significant because it's the first time three exchanges get together doing a JV. Now, of course, we don't know whether they would, successfully, pull it off.
Right.
But that's a talk, okay?
Right. So this is just talk. This is not confirmed just yet.
Well, but we support it. The government supported it. Vice Premier Lee was in town and he supported it, and he gave the big support to the exchange.
Of course.
So they're working on it.
And this is about derivatives, maybe index.
It will be about index-related products generally. Yeah.
Okay. And what about some of these this release of a 20 billion yuan issue? Lots of billions of yuans being issued in bonds. Let me ask you, what do you think yuan-denominated bonds have done better than, say, yuan-denominated IPOs? Because Keqiang of Keqiang didn't do very well in the markets, let's be honest.
Yes.
Yeah. So why is there this differentiation in popularity?
Generally speaking, I think that bonds are much easier to sell at this point in time because there are a lot of deposits in Hong Kong. We are waiting for some products with a good income sort of cash flows. And bonds are easier to sell. I think as when you're talking about new issues, there are a lot of corporate demand for such investment products.
And what are the future yuan products? I mean, the yuan right now is seen as a safe haven because you're not going to lose money in this trade. So what kind of, are you going to come up with new products, yuan-related products here in Hong Kong?
I think what we are looking at, the measures which are announced by the Vice Premier, is a number of things that actually boost the supply of bonds in Hong Kong. Now, the Ministry of Finance bonds, the 20 billion, and then the 50 billion bonds will be issued by the financial, non-financial mainland companies in Hong Kong. The FDI, relaxation measure that will eventually, happen, will actually boost the supply of corporate bonds, in Hong Kong. So I think a number of things will be making Hong Kong a much bigger yuan bond market.
Right.
Now, that's good news because we have a lot of yuan deposits in Hong Kong, and they are waiting to put in place to use for higher yield products.
Okay, well, let's talk about the big headliner of the week because, we were talking about, remember the through train? That was many, many years ago.
Many years
ago.
Not
many, just 2 years ago. But that never came to fruition, right? Where we had mainlanders being able to buy Hong Kong equities directly. So we got something of that measure in this ETF, this Hong Kong company ETF that might be listed on the mainland. How does that help, I guess, Hong Kong as a financial center?
What we have been trying to work on the last couple of years is to find a way for the mainland investor to invest in Hong Kong market.
Right.
Now,
that's a lot of cash, right? We want that.
It's a lot of cash, but you got to do it in the right way. the original idea of through trade involving a lot of millions of retail investors in China is pose a lot of risk to everybody.
Okay.
Okay. So now when we are talking about ETF products, I mean, we all understand ETF products. Okay. It will be structured like a index type of products. It will be Hong Kong stocks ETF, and then listed in let's say in Shanghai and Shenzhen stock exchanges.
Right.
Now that would be good for the mainland investor who want to buy into the Hong Kong market, accessing their own market in doing so.
And when is this going to be implemented? Yeah, we've been talking about this.
That should be soon. I'm hopeful that this could be done, in a few months.
In a few months?
Yes.
That soon, really?
Well, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I think, as I understand, all the problems have been solved.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that nice, especially in the climate that we're in on the markets? Okay, what about the QF fee? Does that mean Hong Kong? Yes, so Hong Kong can invest more money onto the mainland. Is that how that works?
Yes, the RQ fee is basically renminbi in Hong Kong. The offshore market in Hong Kong can be used to invest into the mainland stock market. Right. Like a Q fee.
Okay. How does it help? I guess Hong Kongers or.
Well, you'll give Hong Kong investors or anyone who has offshore yuan in Hong Kong another investment option.
Okay.
Now this is what we are doing here, Susan, is that with all these bonds coming to Hong Kong, with access to the mainland market, we are increasing the flows between the offshore yuan market and the onshore yuan market.
Okay. As an individual here in Hong Kong, I have to say, why don't you lift the $20,000 limit? Like I can only get as an individual 20,000 yuan personally, I think, each and every day.
Well, if you're an individual, if you're converting, that's the limit you're in.
Yeah. But what are you going to lift that?
But I don't think that's really a hindrance. For a lot of corporate, customers in Hong Kong, they can actually be buying yuan in Hong Kong like in a free market. Hong Kong is the only place in the world that you can actually buy and sell yuan, in a free market way. Okay.
Now, Mr. Chan, Secretary Chan, before I let you go, let me just point to you what's happening in the markets right now. The TOPIX is down to a 2-year low. I mean, the Kospi is losing over 4.5%. When investors come up to you in the streets saying, "What's going on in the markets? I'm concerned." What are you going to say to them to alleviate their fears? I mean, what's happening?
Well, I think when we look at the big sell-off that we see, in some days in the past, a lot of times people reacting to some news. Okay, negative news on the economic figure and so on. I ask investors to stay calm, look at the numbers, and look at exactly how it affects their own economy, and not to be spooked by the market that easily. All right. Secretary Chan, thanks again for joining us. Enjoy your weekend. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you, Susan. That's the Secretary for Hong Kong Financial Services and the Treasury, Keqiang, joining us on the program.